Morning, morning, everybody. Michelle is in the building on a Tuesday, October the 17th, 2023, on the West Coast. Anyway, I hope everybody's doing fantastic, magnificent, and marvelous because I am. Wow. I put out a video, is time relative? Because that popped into my head, and, I, I said I would contemplate, cultivate on it, and I haven't necessarily. And I also said I would meditate on it, but I haven't necessarily. So when I got up this morning, other things stopped popping in my head. You know what I mean? Because we have this. I don't know if we have this. We have a lot of theories, right? A lot of theories that we're holding on to, that we hold dear. In other words, we believe, I think, that if it's said, then it's real, or that it's true. If someone says something, I told you a lot of our former scientists, philosophers, whatever we call them, had a lot of theories and opinions in their speech, or in their papers, or however they presented their theories, right? And because a lot of people were not necessarily concerned about that, because a lot of people supposedly did not read or write, all right? That's the assumption, that a lot of other people could not read or write, and that only certain. So it appears, from what I can tell, that only white men were able to read and write, but the rest of the cultures, including women, were not able to read or write, right? Okay, that's my sensing and receiving on that. But anyway, so we hold these terms dear from particular people. Like if Einstein says something, okay, it must be true. Okay, or if Newton says something, it must be true. Socrates, Aristotle, if they said something, well, it must be true. True? Okay. So there's these, because, when I read about some of these theories, it's like, okay, whether someone can read or write, I wonder if they still thinking? All because they can't read. My dad could not necessarily. My dad dropped out of school when he was, I think, a teenager, or just, a teenager, and my mom too. But my dad was able to, because he had a strong visual like I do. If he, he just knew how to put things together. Like I said, he can tear down a house and he can build a house without necessarily reading or writing anything. Okay, but so he had the basic education, both of them, and they turned out to be brilliant and excellent, as well as complicated. Okay, all warped up in that, and that is the result of living in a culture such as black culture, which include Latinos. I keep forgetting the Latinos. The Latinos were a part of black culture as well back in the day that I grew up. All right, so my again, because theories were coming out of the mouths of men, I guess it was an assumption that it was true, right? Because we have Einstein's theory of relativity, we have Newton's theory of relativity, and a lot of people say what goes up must come down. Okay, in other words, it's considered a path of least resistance. Okay, so what goes up must come down? Is that true? Heat goes from hot to cold. Is that true? How about flipping that up? Okay, how about countering that is my point. okay, and turn it into a metaphor, uh, and tell me what do you receive from that, sense and receive from that. When you say what goes up must come down, and that's considered gravity, okay, my question to these so-called scientists, or those that are bestow themselves as scientists, okay, not that I'm it's just so many people call themselves scientists, so I don't know. So my question is this: does what goes up come down? Is that true? Okay, what can affect the gravity? Can anything affect gravity? Okay, is there an interference with gravity to cause something to not come down, to go up and not come down? Okay, and is it true that heat goes from hot to cold, or can it go from cold to hot? So that, my point is this: are we taking the path of least resistance in order to not, because of what? What is that? Is that because of unknowing, and the fact that everybody believes that that the universe, not that the universe is dark matter. Okay, I don't know how anyone would know that per se unless you travel outside the solar system, as I said. Okay, so there's just a lot of unanswered questions. I understand about the theory of relativity. Is time relative? And when Isaac Newton supposedly was sitting under a tree, he asked the question, why did the apple fall from the tree? I mean, these are a lot of perceptions and assumptions, right? So I just have questions. That's all. And I wish that some of these so-called scientists would delve into that. It's not just say, well, because Newton said it. Have you proven that? Or because Aristotle said it, Socrates said it. But were there mistakes? Were those truths or theories or opinions that meant they require more discussion and conversation? Because I keep coming back as well to when I used to have these dreams, when I would come to the end of the road, and the end of the road. And every time I would attempt to investigate it, I'd come out of my dreams. Okay, and so I determined that I had to take another path, right? I had to take another path because apparently there was a detour there. Because it was a detour. I would come to the end of the road and there was nowhere else to go. But figuratively, metaphorically, that meant to me that I had to take a different path. So is that the issue? Is that we are being so literal and not considering, in these theories. So, all I'm going to do is throw out bits and pieces of stuff. I have no idea what it means because I'm not a physics. I'm not into physics. I'm not into relativity. I'm not into any of that stuff. All I do is apply the experiences of my life to figure things out. And like I said, all because you can't read or write doesn't mean that you can't think. And I think that has been the issue with us for, I would say, millennia. We rely so much on this so-called knowledge we think we are and that we think we have, and we're not willing to expand it. Okay, because like I said, I sense and receive that we are in our own self-created, man-made black hole. And that's why we can't get out. Okay? We cannot get out of the solar system with our current technology, and we won't for a long time. Okay? But keep in mind, there are other advanced civilizations out there that can come into our soul system at will, and they have been for millions of years. I told you, foreigners or ancestors. In other words, some of us are when I say us, I'm just including myself. I'm not saying that I am. All of us, or some of us, we are descendants of ancestors from high advanced civilizations. I told you about the Sirius star or Sirius constellation. Okay, unless we can have the technology to get outside of that, we'll realize we're not that the universe is not all dark matter. Okay, and I remember being taught that there is a such thing as dark light or black light, as well as white light. White light or light, that phenomena exists out in the universe. Okay, so that means that we can't see. We're not looking properly. Okay. Let's see something. That's what I said. It's in the sounds and the tones. Okay. Like put my hands where my eyes can see. Busta Rhymes. Put your hands where my eyes can see. So a lot of theories and opinions were educated guesses. Okay. In other words, they were self-discoveries that were not necessarily the truth. They were something to discover, something to contemplate, cultivate, properly meditate, which means, and I'm going to talk about that in another video with the other series of videos on meditation. So the fundamental thing that I'm attempting to articulate is that we were not properly taught how to think and realize that we have to, like I said, first of all, we have to be grounded in our reality, because it's easy to get lost in fantasy, easy, and sometimes it's a joyful thing when you're a young child to get lost in your fantasies, okay, and your imagination and such. But as an adult, we're responsible for developing ourselves into being grounded in our reality. But most of the time, a lot of people spend 80% of their time in their fantasies, but yet they can still function, just like any functioning addict can. Some addicts are functioning alcoholics. My dad drank a lot, but he was able to function, get up and go to work, and stay in a job for almost 30 years. And still was he was a good father. Now I have no idea if he was a good husband, because I wasn't his wife, I was his daughter. So I'm going to be biased about him. Okay, about how good he was as a father, but I have no idea how he was as a husband. That's for my mom to have answered, and in most cases when I asked her, my mom was just complicated. That's all. You could never. I could not necessarily get direct answers from her ever. It was always an open answer, where she's not committing to one side or the other. That's pretty creative, actually, when you look at the big picture. Because she was teaching me Think for yourself. Figure it out. You connect the dots based on your experiences and what you see, sense, and all of your sensing. So, path of path of least resistance. It is a physical or metaphorical pathway that provides the least resistance to forward motion by a given object or entity among a set of alternate paths. So in other words, there's always an alternate path, isn't there? I told you about how people get worked up when there's a storm in their area, and their main source of transportation sends them into a rage, and they used to take their rage out on first responders, and not knowing that there's alternative paths to your home. So my point is, there's alternative paths to these so-called theories and opinions that we have held dear. It may not be necessarily true, or even thought of as truth, that what goes up must come down. He was just having discussions, and since people were not reading or writing at the time, a lot of it could have been translated improperly, and that's not how he thought about things at all. Same thing with Aristotle and Socrates, and chances are they were making mistakes or making wrong assumptions based on their realities and based on their perception of realities. So I'm going to stop right there. I said enough, and allow things to kind of sink in to help me think things through, because it has to make sense to me. And I'm telling you, to say that what goes up must come down. What if there was an interference in the gravity, the gravitational pull? Okay, if there was an interference there, all because we can't see what the interference is, does that mean that there is no interference? Okay, and that something has to come. What's this? The other one. Heat goes from hot to cold. So cold to hot cannot generate heat. Okay. So like I said, I'm gonna stop there. I'm going to just let things kind of flow into my mind, and I also put a post out that says this: when someone steals ideas and creativity from the original owner, the perpetrator who stole those ideas or creativity usually have a difficult task. They may be able to initially succeed with the stolen creativity and ideas. They may initially be blockbuster movies, blockbuster companies, blockbuster this or that and the other, but because it wasn't their original thoughts, usually those companies fail due to math, or those initiations of whatever they had, those implementations of those ideas and creativity. Yes, like I said, there'll be a blockbuster hit in the beginning, but it's usually hard to follow up. It's hard to be successful with anything else. Okay, look at the billionaires that we have. How many times have they, So that's all I'm saying is, and I remember I used to work with this idiot. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That was a joke. I used to work with someone who displayed idiotic behaviors and actions. How about that? And this individual would always say, think outside the box. Think outside the box. And so a lot of times, as I've said, we're parrots. All we're doing is regurgitating quotes, regurgitating theories and opinions, and we're not necessarily thinking at all about, thinking in the true sense and form of thinking. And I told you, thinking involves bringing in, well, based on my theories and opinions, which require discussion and conversation if you choose to. Everything I'm saying is just free will. I am just flowing. Okay, I'm flowing. So we have a lot of people, so-called whatever they are. Most of them are intellectual talking heads. Okay, that who call themselves, they call themselves scientists, engineers, philosophers, blah blah. They call it teachers, messenger, prophets, chosen ones, da 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 da. All those titles that are irrelevant and are meaningless, and they hold no value no more. They may have, but they hold no value. But yeah, thinking outside the box. If this person only knew. If this person only knew. And that's going to be the revelation and the awakening of these so-called unwoken people, because they don't want to be woken, right? They don't want to be considered woke or conscious. They want to be considered unconscious and unwoken or unwakened, whatever, and they are. How about that? Their behaviors and actions, and usually it starts, sometimes with their words, demonstrate that clearly and effectively. Okay, so I'm gonna stop there. I keep saying that, but I have a lot more going on. But I'm guess what? I'm hungry. Feed that bitch is part of what they said, so she can shut the fuck up. Ooh, baby, I love it. Anyway, everyone, enjoy your day. Enjoy each other. Have fun with your life. Don't take yourself so damn seriously. You're not that important, and that is not anything to be concerned about. That's not an insult, because because these bodies eventually will do what? Die, rot, and turn to dust. Peace and love, everybody. And trust me, I'll be back.